And ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for your main event. In this corner, from parts unknown, coming in at a combined weight of 532 pounds, the J-Bone Express. And in this corner, utilizing the Freebird rules, your tag team champions of the world, at a combined weight of 832 pounds, the Brothers in Kayfabe.
Not a host and co-host, but my other host, Mr. Wrestling, Landon Bumgarner. What's up, dude?
What's up, Jake? It feels so weird being here. First of all, let's give it up. It's the start of season 2, which is amazing. We made it. Took a lot longer than I thought it would, but we've got a really good plan going forward with this. But if you're listening to this, this is the start of season 2. Rest in peace, Triple J, Jimmy Jam Jackson.
You know, he left the territory. He's he lost a loser leaves town match, and he had to say goodbye, but it was for good reasons, you know. So if you listen to the season finale of season 1, then you'll understand what we're all talking about. But you know, Jimmy had to go take his regular job into perspective. We'll just, you know, say that, and just not enough time right now for the old podcast, but he's still a brother. Still a brother.
He is. And we get it. Life happens. I mean, that's kind of the story of our podcast, is life happening and it being sporadic at times, but we are not dead. In fact, we are about to kick it into high gear and be more consistent than we've been in the past and delivering a lot of content. Jake, what's some of that content that they can expect now with season 2 starting?
Well, season 2, with it officially underway, there will be Jake Keel's Confessions of a Wrestling Tape Trader. Gonna be watching some tapes, trading some tapes. You know, DVDs are tapes. They're tapes to me. So
they are tapes. It's just a different format.
Yeah, you know, so I'm gonna be watching a lot of that. Gonna be watching some wrestling movies, you know, wrestling matches. Right now, I've got the wonderful wrestling.tv app on my Roku. If you don't have that, it literally just plays random matches over and over, and you don't know what's coming. Like, once one is over, it just moves on to the next one. So, but we got that. We're going to do some unboxings. We put some unboxings on Patreon. I know, Landon, you're working on one yourself.
Mm-hmm. Should I reveal what I'm going to unbox, or should I keep it a surprise?
Let's pop the boys. Let's see what you're going to unbox.
You think you know me. It is the Mattel Ultimate Edge, based off of his 2020 Royal Rumble return, which is, we've talked about from the very beginning of the pod. There you go. One of my favorite matches, the WrestleMania 22 one with Mick Foley. But I'm going to do kind of an in-depth dive into just to review that figure, but most importantly, why it means a lot to me. So yeah, and you've got one out already. And here's the thing. Some of this content is going to be exclusive to our YouTube channel. Some of it's going to be exclusive to our Patreon. Right. We're not going to be mean and hide everything behind a paywall, but we're going to show you, like, hey, we've got this, but we've got a lot more of it for $5 a month.
$5 a month Patreon. There is already an unboxing on Patreon of me unboxing Series 3 Orange Cassidy from the AEW Unrivaled line. Fantastic figure. You need to go watch that. I've also got a video I'm currently editing, but it is a review. I went to watch some local wrestling a week and a half ago, and I broke it down Meltzer style and gave star ratings, the whole 9 yards. And so that's going to be coming up on Patreon. I'm going to leave that on Patreon for about a week, maybe, and then it's going to go up on the YouTube channel. So stuff is going to be on both. There are going to be stuff that's only on Patreon. There's going to be stuff that's only on YouTube. There's going to be stuff that you can watch here and then watch there. This video podcast format that we're doing right now over Zoom, that's going to be on Patreon. The audio format won't be going away. It's going to be where it's always at. But, you know, if you're a Patreon member, you can watch it pretty much instantly after we're done recording. We're going to try to pop that up there and get that on there. But we're in a new era, a new era, new theme song, new co-hosts. I want to call this the guest general manager era.
I love that. I love that. How poetic. And you know, this is going to be the reality, because we want to make this guest spot available to a ton of people. We're going to have like incredible stars, like, oh man, like we've got Ozzy Osbourne and we've got Hugh Jackman, but we also have Cedric the Entertainer, and he doesn't have any movies coming out anytime soon. And we've also got Jeremy Piven up here. He had one good movie and that's it. So we're going to have some incredible guests.
We're gonna have Dr. Leslie Chow.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. We're gonna we're gonna have the stars, and then we're gonna have the ham and eggers as well. But speaking of stars, we have a guest with us tonight. We're gonna bring him on in just a second. Jake, you probably know him a little bit better than I do, but we both met him through a mutual podcast that we're all fans of, and we're gonna let him tell his story here in a second. But who's going to be on our show today?
Well, this man is the hottest free agent in podcast history, fellow Major Mark, leader of the Thursday night flea market in the Major Mark group.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? It is Mr. Aaron Ortiz, the man, the myth, the legend, and we're going to bring him in right now, folks. He's been waiting in a waiting room. We've been only giving him coffee and peanuts all day, and here he is, finally on the Brothers in Kayfabe podcast. How you doing, Aaron Ortiz?
Hickory dickory dock. I am the hottest free agent on the podcasting block. And if you didn't know that, you must live in a cave. And I suggest you get out. We're about to shake things up. I'm Aaron Ortiz. This is the Brothers in Kayfabe. What is going on, folks at home? I am so excited to be here on the Brothers in Kayfabe. Me and Jake have been talking about this recently to get me on this podcast. And Jake, I must say, you've gotten my attention. You have a little admirer. I saw you wearing the MWO flea market t-shirt. You're looking beautiful in it, my man. I love it.
Dude, I got it the other day. I was heading to work, and I was like, yep, that's happening today. I'm wearing that to work today. Show everybody that not only am I a wrestling fan, but I'm a fan of the Major World Order. I'm a fan of Aaron Ortiz. This dude is a great dude, does great stuff for our community. You know, big time figure guy. And that's where we've all met. And go and explain a little bit about what you do over there in the Major Pod Network group.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, this is the first time me and you are meeting, Jake. So it's a pleasure to meet you, brother.
Yes,
and,
sir.
I didn't get your name, sir.
It's okay. What's up, Aaron? I'm Landon. You've cost me a lot of money, but all for really good reasons. I mean, there's so many times I'll be texting Jake and it's like, oh, it's flea market night. And I'll get in. And it's like, well, I'm just going to throw a comment out there, see if anything happens.
Right.
And a couple of friends and family later, and I've got boxes showing up at my house. But dude, it's great to have you on. Thanks for being here with us, man.
Man, I'm super excited to be on here. It's a pleasure to meet you, Landon. Hey, a very professional background, folks at home. If you don't see, you can't see the video obviously, but he has the Brothers in Kayfabe logo behind him. Man, he must have some kind of fancy schmancy green screen or something.
Hey,
Looks really
I
nice.
can pretend it is, but I won't reveal all my secrets.
Man, I'm starstruck. I have two handsome boys here asking me some questions. Jake, can you remind me what you asked me before? You guys do this to me every time.
Oh yeah, man. So I was just wanting you to explain a little bit about what you do over in the Major Pod Group Network or Major Pod Network Group.
Yeah. No problem, man. So, on the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon exclusive Facebook group, I have created this monstrosity known as the Thursday Night Flea Market, where every single week, everyone in our Facebook group, buys, sells, and trades their items. If we call it the flea market, because if you think about your local flea market and you think about what's there, that's basically what you have. There's a lot of everything going on all at once, and a lot of people buying, selling, and trading all around you. Except in this community, it's all about toys. I mean, it could be more, but it's mostly about toys. And you could see anything show up in the flea market. You could see a Minon card retro, Minon card. What is it? Galoobs. You can see Minon card, anything. I mean, you name it. There's some rare items. We have wrestlers going in there selling their ring worn items. It's great, man, and it's gotten me a lot of great opportunities, such as being on this podcast.
Yeah, like Landon said, you've cost me a ton of money because like Thursday, I'll just be like, well, I'm just gonna scroll through it, see what's up, and then $100 later, I'm telling my wife, hey, can you take my phone away? Like,
Oh my
I can't look at
God.
this stuff anymore.
That is so funny you say that, because I had someone's wife slide into my DMs and say, "Can you please block my husband from like Thursday Night Flea Market?" Oh man, it gets crazy, folks. If you haven't experienced the Thursday Night Flea Market, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, take a shot. We go live on the flea market, and the first few comments are please like, please like, please like.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
the rest, it starts like you're like any toy that you've probably ever wanted shows up in the first 5 minutes. And it's so hard to keep up with because there's so many posts, but it's super fun. It's like, I don't know. It's something that I've never really dealt with before. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm a part of it, man. And I'm glad that you guys are a part of it, man. I'm glad to be a part of this podcast. I've listened to a couple episodes, man. I'm sad to see one of your brethren go, but you guys got the hottest free
Yeah, man.
agent, on a 2-day contract.
Yeah, we looked at the contract. I was showing Landon the contract, made sure that we got you 2 hot dogs and 2 handshakes for the nights you're booked for us. So,
man, honestly, that is more than any other podcast has paid me. So thank you.
Aaron, let me ask you this: where did you get the idea to launch this Facebook flea market? Because, like you said, it's one of those things. It's so brand new. It's like, well, how do you do a live flea market on Facebook? Like, there's Facebook Marketplace, but this is completely different. So, where'd that come from?
So I've noticed in our community, we have about 1,800 folks, 1,800 toy traders, or people that want to sell, buy, whatever. And I noticed that they tried selling things inside of the actual main feed, like in the actual group, and other people would post their other things that don't have to do with buying, selling, or trading. So it'd get buried like in posts. So you really wouldn't see that item. And, everyone has working schedules. So sometimes, someone that wanted to see that item didn't get the opportunity to. So I noticed the sort of flaw in that. So I wanted to have an episodic thing because, every wrestling fan in that group is so used to episodics, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights.
Absolutely.
I just said those dates, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you already know what shows are on those dates. You know what I'm saying? So I started it on Thursdays, and I made a post. There's a graphic. It's like a picture, and it says flea market, like Thursday night flea market, and then it has rules on there. And then people just start selling their items. They post a comment, which is their item, and people can claim it. They can trade, they can do whatever they want. And a lot of people are participating, and it goes really, really fast, but it's a good fast. It's like anxiety. It's like jumping out of a plane or something.
Just to put into perspective how fast this goes for those of you who haven't experienced this this past Thursday, I got on a couple minutes before it went live, just because I was like, hey, that's coming up. I was actually on my honeymoon. My wife didn't know it, but I had my phone out and was getting ready to scroll, even though we were supposed to be doing a social media fast. And I see you post it, and it's like, okay, here we go. It's live. And I comment, hey, does anyone have any Black Series figures? And when I refresh to see my comment posted, we're already at 93 comments. Refresh again, 123, refresh 500. And it's just insane. And it's one of those things you have to be, you just have to be watching consistently and constantly and refreshing and going back. Because sometimes you'll refresh and all of a sudden you're 200 posts ahead of where you were just looking at. It reminds me a lot of the major pod figure drops on Ringside, to where we're, RIP, we crashed the website and some people got orders, some people didn't, some people got notifications that they got them, and then a day later turns out they didn't. But it's like, it's the best kind of chaos.
Yeah, it truly is, man. And it's because of all the major marks that participate in this. If you're out there listening and you're not in the Facebook group, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Patreon exclusive Facebook group, check it out, man. It's honestly the best community. You could find anything you want within minutes, especially if you're going there on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon, and sign up for the $4.99 tier, and that will get you into the Facebook group. It's honestly the best. I mean, that's not, I didn't get paid to say that. That's just me being a super fan, and these boys here can attest to that. It's a great time, man, and that's how we all met. I mean, it's what a community. I've never seen anything else like it.
It amazes me every week going in there and looking at the flea market, and from week to week it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, to where, like, there was one night that within an hour y'all were at 900 or 900 comments, something like that, where it's just like, how is it even at this point?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we talk about numbers right now, but there's a lot of positive numbers in that. We do every single month. We do a charitable flea market where I ask people to donate at least 10% or more of all of their earnings or of their purchases to a charitable cause that all the major marks vote for. So there's a lot of ways to get the community involved, and I think this is like a big one. I remember when I first joined the actual group, Papa Bear and Brian Myers had the card breaks, and I remember that bringing everyone together and like being a spot. Like, that's literally where I made some of my first friends in the group. And yeah, it's stuff like that motivated me to do the Thursday Night Flea Market. So it's great.
And I got to commend you for the charity donations that you do, because we've raised some crazy money. I mean, helping out fellow major marks, helping out specific charities, but also I think one of the ones that was the most meaningful for the wrestling fan community was whenever John Huber, aka Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, passed away. And do you want to talk about how you came up with that idea and what your plan was to help out that family?
Man, just like I imagine everyone else in the wrestling community, I was taken back by the death of Mr. Brody Lee. So rest in peace to him. Yeah, it touched me to my core, and I noticed that there was a son without a father. And man, if you're out there and you have your dad, I mean, like, it's huge, it's important, and like, it's great to have your dad there, and to see him lose his father, I couldn't even imagine losing mine, right? So what I wanted to do is, I noticed we do the monthly charity, and I wanted to support Mr. Brody Lee, as he, passes on to the next phase. And what we did was, we collected money, again, 10% or more of all of your sales or all of your purchases, and put that aside, and so we could collect the money there. And what we did with that money is, we bought Brody Lee t-shirts from AEW, and all those proceeds go directly to the family. So it was a great cause, and it did a lot of good, and it made a lot of people happy because, one, we were, a lot of people were like, we did a raffle, so people got to win that t-shirt, and and the t-shirt is such a great cause, and that money goes directly to the family. So it was all in all a blessing, and shout out to all the major marks that participated in that. A lot of people tell me, even to this day, I just did a podcast not too long ago, the WFF, the guy who was interviewing me said that I gave him that t-shirt, so it was pretty cool to see that, and it's great to like do something to keep the memory alive.
Absolutely. This is one of those moments where you really get to see like the goodness in the pro wrestling fan community, as
Yeah.
opposed to where like if you get on Twitter and it's just like it's toxic 24/7,
Gosh.
like it's dirt sheet this,
Right.
dirt sheet that. It's like, man, you guys don't even like wrestling, but you're on here like complaining about it and hating it so much. But I love hearing stories about that because stories is what we base our podcast off of. This idea of brothers and sisters in kayfabe, that for some reason we like professional wrestling. Why do we like that? What got us into it? What are our earliest memories? Things like that. So once again, I just want to commend you for the great work you're doing, being a trendsetter, and proving that all wrestling fans aren't bad and disgusting trolls. But Jake, if you're cool with it, I think let's peel back the layers a little bit of Aaron's mind and let's figure out why on earth he likes professional wrestling.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Aaron, what is your earliest memory of professional wrestling of any kind?
All right, I love that question. So I was very, very young, man. Like this, I can't remember what age, and that's how young it was. I remember I was at my mom's friend's house, and her friend had two little boys, and they were hunched like over this television that like kind of barely worked. The kind that you have to beat to get a good picture out of. It was like blurry, but like you could still tell what was going on. I was looking at the screen with them because they were so invested into what was going on. And then all you hear is, if you smell what the rock is cooking. And then I see this guy coming out, raising his eyebrow, and like it's a blurry picture, but you can still see it. And these kids are going crazy. They're like, that's the rock, that's the rock, that's the rock. And then you hear Austin's music come out, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Shout out to 316 Day, guys.
Happy 316 Day.
Happy 316 to everybody. Go smash some beers and yell hell yeah.
And break glass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go break a window in your home. Don't tell your parents I said that.
Stun your boss and his wife and his kids.
Yeah, exactly. So I hear their music. And again, still very blurry picture, but you see this bald man coming down very angrily. And I was like, what is this guy's problem? And again, all blurry, but you could still see it. And it was crazy. Like I saw like it was some different kind of magic. And then I left that house just like curiosity on my mind, and then I went off into the sunset until around 2007 when I got back into it.
So that's your earliest memory of wrestling. Like, what is is that what drew you back in? What drew you back in 2007?
So in 2007, this is when I was around like 5th or 6th grade. I had a lot of friends that were watching, and they were telling me about like dudes like Batista and Kane and The Undertaker, and like I wanted to be in now. Like I wanted to be in with the kids, so I turned on Friday Night SmackDown. And it's funny because we're toy collectors here. I see your collection there. What a beautiful collection, Jake. I see it. Oh, there's a Ric Flair. And I had a Rey Mysterio before I even knew about the WWE because he was so toyetic.
Yeah.
And I remember turning on Friday Night SmackDown, and here comes Rey Mysterio on my screen doing a 619, and I'm looking at my toy, looking back at the screen like, oh my God, like this is this guy. Like I put two and two together. And ever since then, that's when my like fandom just started, seeing these titans just go on the screen. Like that was my golden era. Like, some people have Hulk Hogan, like Macho Man. I had The Undertaker and Batista, So that's some of my earliest memories.
I think people are always going to super love what drew them in the first place. Like whenever they first like really became a fan, like that's what's gonna suck them in. Like I can't tell you how many times Jake and I have talked about why I love like the rebirth of the ECW in WWE, because that's what was on when I first got in super heavy. I'm like, wait a minute, there's like this place. It's basically like Mos Eisley from Star Wars, and there's like all these thugs like drinking and just like fighting, like not in the ring but everywhere else. So I love hearing that. Jake, you've got a pretty similar story about some of your early memories of watching wrestling, and then around the same time period being drawn back in to it as well.
So I'm kind of similar in that fact that when I was younger, not so much similar on this point, but when I was younger, wrestling was not allowed in our house.
Wow.
Like we flipped through the channels and I saw it one time, and my mother came and grabbed the remote and was like, "No, we don't watch wrestling."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Why?" And she goes, "It's fake. It's gross. It's fake." This was peak Attitude Era. Like this is like some of the stuff that 8-year-old Jake should not be watching anyway. But,
understood. Yeah.
you know, but it drew me in because like I saw a match on the TV and I was like, I got to know more about this.
Of course.
So that was back whenever like they would replay it at midnight, like the same night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would stay up knowing that it was going to come back on.
Ooh.
and watch it on my TV in my room and like with the volume way down, but I'm like this close to the screen because I can still hear it at that point.
Oh,
and
Jake,
then
you used to watch wrestling like kids used to watch HBO at night.
right. No, seriously, that's how I watched pro wrestling. Like, and at that point, I didn't even know there was another company out there. Like it was just WWF, there's Stone Cold, there's The Rock, like there's DX, like running amok. And so I was really curious about that. And then like I faded off. Like, you know, most wrestling fans have that faded off period where they just weren't a fan.
For sure.
And then when I was in high school, I dated this girl and she was in love with Jeff Hardy.
That's awesome.
Like she would tell me like that's like her number one celebrity crush, Jeff Hardy. I'm like, Jeff Hardy. Like I remember that Jay Brone when he was in the Attitude Era. And
the Brood.
Yeah. And so I'm over at her house one night and it was like the first night that we decided to watch wrestling together. Yeah. And it happened to be the Monday Night Raw where Hardy jumps off the Titantron onto Randy Orton through a table.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hooked, like didn't miss a week all the way through college and all that. And, you know, it's like you whenever you like just happen to tune back in and it all just clicked again.
Right. Yeah, so. I would say I had you talking about a phase where you go out around like, you know, freshman year of high school, like right after 8th grade. I was just like, I need to get some girls, man. I need to clean up.
That's usually what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like, man, girls don't get this, man. And I'm too much of a mark to just try to like go talk to a girl, you know?
Right.
So I left wrestling in the dirt, man. Like the whole CM Punk era and stuff, missed it.
Oh man.
And so I came back to watch wrestling around 2014 lightly, like where it's just like I'm flipping through channels. All right, it's Friday Night SmackDown. Haha. All right, let's watch it. And I was just like, all right, fuck, I'm invested. You know.
I love it.
So, and it's funny that Jake, you talk about like watching wrestling with your girlfriend because you know, I met my girlfriend. When she was a wrestling fan herself, and this is in college when she was in college. So I go up to her dorm and like our first time meeting, I remember she had wrestling like Monday Night Raw on the TV, and I was just like, "You watch wrestling?" She was like, yeah, I watch wrestling. And I was just like, I watch wrestling. And then we just made out hard.
But that's true. The shameful act of admitting you're a professional wrestling fan. I think I've told this story on here before. So my great uncle is James Garner, the actor, most famously like in The Notebook and a bunch of Westerns and stuff like that.
Wow.
And they built a statue for him in his hometown of Norman, Oklahoma. And so we went to this big like statue unveiling. And the night before, my family, just like immediate, super close family, we go out to dinner with Uncle Jim is what we called him. And me being the good mark I am, I'm wearing my Randy Orton RKO NWO spoof shirt.
Oh, I love that shirt.
And I've got like my hair spiked up so that I look like Randy Orton too.
Oh,
And
man.
my uncle, he turns and looks and he's like, RKO, like the radio and movie company, like from the 30s. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
man.
Like
it's
King
a
Kong?
wrestler. Yeah, exactly. I was like, no, he's a wrestler. And like the look on his face, like I might as well have like just spit on him and like said like I'm ashamed to be related to you, because he just looked at me and then he turns and looks at my dad and he's like, you need to make sure he quits watching that stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool.
Jesus. Man, I kind of relate to you in some kind of sense of with family doing that kind of stuff. I remember I was playing with my figures. I had this big like tin, or what is it? Like it's like a plastic tub and then it has like a top. It's like
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah, big tote.
Tote, there you go. And I had all my figures in there, and on the top I would use that as my ring. And I was having a WrestleMania moment. Everyone was taking bumps, there was ladders going everywhere, being super loud. Matt Cardona to the full max. And then my uncle, who was living with us at the time, he like stormed out. I guess he was taking a nap or something. He was just like, you're being too loud. Like, oh my god, you're still playing with action figures. Like, this dude sounds like the dojo guy from Napoleon Dynamite, you know.
Yeah.
Like, call me sensei. And he was just like, you gotta quit that stuff. You're never gonna get a girl like that. Like, wrestling is just phony. Just like you guys, what you like your stories. It's like it's so frowned upon. And like I'm so happy that we have this community, because like so many good things have come from it, and it makes me feel better about myself of just being a fan and just, you know, being like a figure collector. You know, it's crazy like how insecure like youngings are, like, you know,
Oh man.
with their things.
You know, it's a weird thing about wrestling too, is like you as a fan of it, people that aren't are just like, really? Like, you like that? It's like, I'm not telling you that you should be weird because you watch The Bachelor, Karen. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I always told someone that The Bachelor is more fake than pro wrestling. So
Right.
I was like, you like that? I like pro wrestling. Like, okay, we're on the same level here.
That is so
Yeah.
true.
Like everybody has their guilty pleasure in media, whether it's like The Bachelor, whether it's Real Housewives, whether
Joe
it's
Shoes
Big
is only
Brother.
fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Gross. Do not look that up, whatever you do.
Oh my God.
Don't do it. But it's interesting. I always have these thoughts when I'm at work during the day. It's like, man, somebody should pay me to do the research and do like a full like academic like deep dive into like all these different kind of like theories and like do fancy essays on this, because I want you guys to think about this. So it's super like up until really the last couple of years, and I think a lot of it has to do with Funko Pops, is those have been used to kind of turn the tide of collecting in general being frowned upon.
Oh yeah.
But there's always been a couple of things like it's okay if you collect those, but don't
Right.
collect anything else. It's like baseball cards, which we're seeing now. I was just talking to a buddy of mine today about how like I would like genuinely, I would just really like to get back into baseball cards just to have, not to sell, but I can't because everybody's selling them.
Oh
So
my
baseball
gosh.
cards are cool. Model cars are cool. Remember the time period when everybody's grandpa and or dad was building model cars, or especially grandpas were doing model trains, and they
Oh
had
yeah.
like a garage or a
Oh my
basement dedicated
God.
to gigantic train collections for no reason. And so it's like things like that aren't frowned upon, but things, whether it's action figures or it's posters or it's comics or even like books or DVDs and stuff like that. But thankfully, I think we're seeing that tide kind of turn. So let me ask you, because we did an episode about some of the collectible stuff that we like. Do you have a specific line of action figures or any kind of memorabilia that you collect? So that's part one. Do you have a specific one that you do, or is it you're just trying to get your hands on anything? And then secondly, what's your favorite piece of memorabilia slash collectible that you own?
Okay, so I collect, well, I collect various of things. My favorite one to collect figures wise is the LJNs, the old LJNs from the 80s, the WWF LJNs. I didn't grow up in that 80s era, but I remember I was over a friend's house who was house sitting for his sister, and his children were gifted LJNs from their grandfather, from what I've later found out. But we were in the basement just having a couple drinks, and I happened to like step on like one of these rubbery big old toys, and I thought it was a dog toy at first. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I picked it up, and it's Bruno San Martino, and I was looking at this thing and I was just like, man, and I was listening to the podcast at the time. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, this thing is like, it feels great in your hand for some reason. Like it's just like you can grip it and it just like looks cool. And the poses like are very like you could still have a match with them, no articulation whatsoever. If you're a huge articulation guy, this is not for you. But like you could still like, do an arm drag, you could still do like any kind of like move that you kind of want to do. And I ever since I had that figure in my hand, I was hooked. So I started buying them up, and like I ended up meeting a good friend, Zorro Mendez, who has been my plug for LJN. So if you're an LJN guy and you want to like look up any LJNs that you need, Zorro Mendez is definitely your guy. But that is my favorite to collect. That is my favorite line to collect. I like amongst that, I collect elites. I completed the WWE retro lines. I have a bunch of Funko Pops, like you were just saying. Like, I collect comedy, like movies that I like Austin Powers, any Adam Sandler movie, Wayne's World. And then I collect like wrestlers too. But I'm also collecting wrestling inspired pops too. So I have like a Conan luchador, which is pretty funny. Yeah, I have like the Fiend, the Invisible Cena, that was pretty cool. And then like various 2-packs. I'm trying to think of other things that I do collect. There's some actual shout out to Foreign Objects, Scott Darcy in the group. I have some Japanese figures as well, like Great Muda. Suzuki. What's New Japan guy? Minoru Suzuki. That's his name. Yeah, so I have him, and then I have a little collection of various other figures. Like I have like a corner in my room that is dedicated to the Heart Foundation, but it's all different like figures. So you have like a Simpsons Bret Hart with a Bendham's like Bret Hart, or a Bendham's Owen Hart, and then you have like a British Bulldogs Jax, like very old like 90s, and then like with the jacket, and then you have I have on card the Hasbro of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and then I have a Jax of Brian Pillman. So yeah, it was kind of hard. I had to go through my whole like room in my mind to think about what I have. But apart from that, like I have other kind of various wrestling toys as well too. Like there's different things, but if I list them all, we'll be here all night. What are some things that you guys collect?
Jake?
Well, right now I collect elites. I've got a bunch of the AEW Unrivaled figures. They're just probably some of the best figures out there right now. I've recently gone through a Remco phase.
Oh wow.
So like I'm really into the Remcos, mainly because you can see them up here. Like I have the entire Masters of the Universe WWE line.
Oh, they're beautiful, man.
Up until Series 6 that hasn't hit here yet. But like I got completely engulfed in these and had no intention of doing it. I was like, I saw Macho Man at Walmart one day. I was like, oh, well, I got to have Macho Man. Like,
yeah, of course.
A couple weeks later, I had 20 of them. Like, and just recently got all that complete. But like, I've started Hasbro's. Recently got the one Hasbro that I wanted out of all of them, and that's the Orange Trunks Macho. I think that was Series 1 Macho.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Such a beautiful figure.
It's so beautiful, man.
But like, I get random stuff. Like I got these in the flea market. Like I just got a couple Galoobs, and if you looked at my desk, it's crazy, but I've got stuff all over that I'm working on. I do customs a lot. Like with the Masters line, just did me a PS Hayes.
Oh wow, man.
So
look at that. That is
working
so cool.
working on a Blue Demon.
Wow.
So drop
That's-
to that. But
That's so sick, man. Were you a Masters of the Universe guy before?
No.
Or were you just collecting these?
I wasn't at all. And then I got all the WWE ones. So I was like, well, I need to get like He-Man and Skeletor.
Yeah.
I was like, because you got to have those guys. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'm going to do a Fig Fed and I'm going to have like the Masters of the Universe go against the WWE Universe guys.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I was like, well, now I need Man at Arms. Well, now I need Scareglow. Now I need Evil Lynn. Like, oh, I just picked up She-Ra. Like,
oh my goodness.
and I'm like, okay, I'm a little in too deep on a show that I've never even seen.
Dude,
I've never
Yeah.
even seen like the
Slippery slope.
movie.
Wow.
And I'm like, but I love them. Like, they're so cool. They look like the Remcos.
Yeah.
And like, I'll have to send some more pictures because I got a ton of them up here. But like, I'm in way deep on the Masters lines.
I could tell, man. And now you definitely got to get the Matt and Brian Remco-ish style kind of figures, man, because they go right along with it. And they have like so many different variants of it. It's crazy. And I know
my credit card is waiting.
oh
Like,
that's so funny. My credit card's ready.
it is ready. Like, I was like, I have to have Matt, Brian, and Mark to be in my Masters universe. And I was like, especially now that they come with the alternate heads, because then I could pop one of them on an actual Masters mold, you know, my psycho brain when it comes to those figures. Like, Landon, which ones are the ones you're big in on right now?
Man, so I feel like I get super like zoomed in, super zoned in with collecting. I feel like it changes every year. So right now, like my big thing, really the only thing I'm collecting is Star Wars Black Series.
Ooh,
And
nice.
here's the ridiculous thing. I've sold off Star Wars collections twice in my
Wow.
life. Well, the first time I gave them away to a couple of listeners of the podcast, gave them away because I was in middle school. I was like, man, like Star Wars isn't cool anymore. Like there's like the Clone Wars had just come out and I thought that was stupid. I was like, it looks like it's just like a stupid little kid show now. So I got rid of all my Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever the new movies came out, like just the hype of Star Wars, I was like, man, okay, I'm going to jump back in and get some Star Wars figs.
Yeah.
And that lasted like a month. And I was like, man, okay, I'm going to sell all these off again. And then whenever I guess it was when season of The Mandalorian dropped, I jumped back in. And this time just the Black Series, and I haven't stopped since. And it's just been ridiculous. But I've collected, I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z guy. I've collected the SH figure arts. Because it's like this is what I want to say Matt Cardona has said this on their podcast before.
Mhm.
That the best part about collecting as an adult is you get to get the stuff you never had as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you couldn't afford it or your parents didn't get it for you or it didn't exist yet. And with the SH figure arts line of Dragon Ball Z stuff, it's all this stuff. It's like, man, like if this would have come out when I was a kid, like my brain would have exploded. I couldn't process it because it's like, oh, this is how I always imagined like the action figure should be. And even like with wrestling, I showed it right before you hopped on, Aaron, but I'm going to do an unboxing of the Ultimate Edge that just came out.
Ooh, man.
And so like, that's the most recent wrestling figure I've gotten, but my wrestling figure purchases have kind of been back and forth over the last couple of years. Cause I was like, man, like wrestling is not cool anymore. I really shouldn't be playing with these. So I'm just going to set it to the side. And then Mattel took over and it's like, okay, like I'm going to get a handful of stuff. No, wrestling's not cool. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to buy a couple more. Okay, now I'm going to be completist. And I've just slowly scaled back to where if it's somebody who I don't have a figure of them, I get it. Or if it's something like, you know, like this Edge or like the Ultimate Ric Flair that just got released.
Oh my God.
The images. And it's like,
need it.
Well, there's the only Ric Flair I'm ever going to need to own outside of the like 3 or 4 I already have. So now I have to get that one as well. But something you both kind of touched on, the fact that you get to kind of make the rules of your collection and you get to do what you want. So like Aaron, what you said about your Heart Foundation shelf.
Yeah.
Like I love that idea towards not like, okay, I have to have all of their figures in every line and style that has come out. But it's like, no, you can mix and match and do whatever you want with it, as opposed to like, this is the scary thing. Jake and RIP, our former co-host Jimmy,
He's just dead off.
have kind of talked. Yeah, he's just dead. RIP.
He lost a loser leaves town match. So
yeah. And then gotten Vince McMahon's limo on the way out. But they both kind of have confronted me at times whenever I talk about like Black Series figures, and it's like, hey, you're getting really close to the line of being a completionist versus just like, oh, I'm just gonna get the guys I want.
Right.
It just so happens that I want to get everybody. But also if it's like, hey, I'm only gonna, like Jake, you're really only doing like Mandalorian characters, right?
Yeah, so I have a small Black Series shelf, and it's literally anyone who is a Mandalorian or is on the Mandalorian show.
Nice.
So like now I've got to get a couple other characters that I was like, oh, I'm never going to buy their figures. But, you know, I've got a bunch of Boba Fett's. I've got all of the Black Series Mandos that have been released, that like the actual Mandalorian, like that character.
Right.
And then I just picked up Bo-Katan because randomly saw her figure. Landon, you'll pop for this. I bought this the other day. I was like, I saw this and it was $5. I was like, I have to get this. This
cool.
reminds me of my childhood right here.
Yeah,
but
that makes me so happy. That makes me like, in my mind, as you held that up to the camera, I was like, maybe I'll hop on eBay real quick and just see if there's any Power of the Force X-Wings just hanging out that need to get home.
Speaking of Star Wars, I have a question for you boys. If I wanted to get a C-3PO, like I want a gold guy, which one would you guys recommend? Like which like is like, and you know what, I wouldn't mind it like being like the classic. I don't need like any articulation or anything. I kind of just wanted to look cool, like to be like my little Lucky Charm.
Have they released one in the retro line yet, Landon?
I don't know off the top of my head. I have the app that I could go in and check like a psycho. I will say that some of the like Power of the Force, so like late 90s to like early 2000s, the 3 3/4 inch line, those C-3POs might be the best, because they've got that gold chrome plastic over them. So I have the 6-inch Black Series one, and like he looks great, but it's not a chrome finish. It's just kind of like
dull,
a shiny. Yeah, like it looks great compared to the other figures, but then if you hold like the older figures up, like whenever Revenge of the Sith came out, I got a C-3PO action figure because I was that weird guy that was like, man, like C-3PO might be my favorite character in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's so funny.
Like, yes, I have to love Luke Skywalker, but then it's like number 2, not Vader. I'm going to go C-3PO. I used to, he had a swappable hand, so I'd put a red lightsaber in his hand and make him a secret Sith Lord. But anyway,
that's awesome.
It always sticks out to me because it was just like super shiny because it had that golden chrome finish. So I would look into those kind of lines because you want, I think a figure like that, like it's eye-catching. Like if you walk into your room and you just see like the bling off of the gold showing off. So
and it's got that finish. It's got that finish like the Mattel wrestling belts, like that nice chrome, like shiny look to them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those in that line.
They might even now, don't hold me to this, I want to say there might even be like a 12-inch one, kind of like the Power of the Force Barbies,
Wow.
They're not officially Barbies, but they were just,
Oh man.
I guess.
Can
to
you
make
imagine
them
having
for
that?
men. Right.
Don't get me started on those Barbie lines. Like,
Oh,
Because
my
it's like,
goodness.
oh, hey, do you need a 1 foot tall Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader? Because here you go. But I'm pretty sure there's just C3PO from that line as well. And that might be one, like, if you're only gonna have one,
yeah.
if you've got the space for it,
Yeah.
maybe you snag a gigantic one.
I don't know about all that. 12 inches, like a big man. You have to explain that every time someone comes into your room. Like, hey, yeah, great room. What is that?
Let's C3PO. Like,
that's my C3PO. Don't just don't worry about it. Like,
yeah, just don't acknowledge him, man. He's mad right now. You just
or
made
get like one. Get
don't
one of the
acknowledge
ugly
him. He'll
ones.
talk to you all night.
now you're
Yeah.
Now you're looking at him. He doesn't like that. Oh my god.
Get
I'm
the
so-
like one of the ugly ones from the Phantom Menace where he doesn't have any of his plating on, and
Oh my
those ones,
goodness.
Jake, you'll remember.
I have it.
It comes with like the little like voice activated chip where you like put
Oh,
the tag to it, so it's
yeah.
like you just hold that and let C3PO talk to you as long
Like
as
he
you
looks
want.
like a junkyard C3PO almost.
Yeah, it's like
I think
all
I
the
know what you're
wires are
talking about.
exposed and
Yeah, I used to
stuff.
have that actually.
There's
It's
like no
crazy.
plating. It's just like all the wires and
It's just
inner
wires and
workings. Like,
eyeballs.
Just a mess. It's like CP3O
So-
like had a bad night.
Dude.
So-
Absolutely.
he brings up the Barbie line for Star Wars. My wife is specifically a Princess Leia collector.
No way. That's interesting.
So, like,
Very
if we were in her office, it's like covered in Princess Leia.
everything.
Like to the point where she's getting ready to start her second sleeve tattoos.
Yeah.
She wants a Leia pinup on the top of her arm.
Oh wow.
And we were in a local nerd stores, probably the best way to put it, called Vintage Stock.
Yeah.
And they had the 12-inch Leia like Barbie style figure.
Oh,
And she freaks out because it's not one that she has. She has her list. She has a legit spreadsheet of everyone ever made, and
That's
she's just
awesome.
marking them off.
That's so cool.
And so she grabs it, she opens it up, and it is freaking signed by Carrie Fisher.
Get out of town.
And like the store didn't even realize that it was signed.
Wow.
And so she walked out of it for like $20.
Wow.
And it was like right after she had died. So like all of her stuff was getting jacked
Yeah.
way up.
Of course.
And so like that, I just had like the fever dream of that day whenever he brought up that line. So
God.
just such a cool thing that like to see the joy on her face.
Yeah.
I was like, now I know what she sees whenever I like find an unopened box of AEW Unrivaled or, whatever.
Oh, man, nothing better than that feeling. Is there anything else that you boys collect? I know myself, I collect like wrestling, like autographed wrestling books. Do you guys have anything outside of figures that you guys collect?
I'll let Landon go first on that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes and no. I don't have anything like specific that it's like, oh, this is how I want to kind of curate this collection. But like I said earlier, I'll get like super in sync with certain things and just buy ridiculous amounts of them.
I hear you.
So it's kind of like the last couple of months, I've been kind of in a phase of I'm going to get like TV shows, like the complete collections of them,
Mhm.
of like pivotal TV shows in my life growing up. So it's like, okay, I've got The Office, obviously.
Oh, bang.
Okay, I've got Saved by the Bell. I've got Seinfeld. Like
Ooh.
starting to piece together these collections to the point to where it kind of starts veering off to where, Jake, you'll pop for this. I just while on the honeymoon, I bought the complete series of Alf on DVD.
Oh yeah.
Because it was
Oh
brand
my
new
goodness,
for
that's
$20.
awesome.
But also, I've really gotten into like wrestling graphic novels,
Oh, nice. man.
or obscure wrestling books. So there's like the typical, hey, here's the book that The Rock wrote while he was in WWE. And here's like Mankind, Have a Nice Day, and all these, which those are great. Those are worth getting. And I've
Right.
got quite a few of them. But then it's like, hey, here's like here's a random graphic novel of Jim Cornette telling the history of like famous wrestling stories, or
Bro, I
here's
just
like,
bought that last night. No joke. That's
dude, it's good. It's good. I'm telling you. There's like ones where it's like the complete history of pro wrestling,
yeah.
or there's like incredible Andre the Giant ones, where there's some where it's basically like his life story just kind of told through comic book art. But then there's another one where it's like, no, let me tell you like the legendary life of Andre the Giant, and it's like
Wow.
super wild. But that's kind of the stuff I've been into now. If you talk to me in like 3 months, it'll probably be completely different.
I like that, man. That's
but
cool.
Jake, you've got a couple other hobbies.
So I was kind of born and raised in racing, like auto racing.
I could see the big old Nas energy.
Oh yeah, dude. So like
behind you.
My weekend job is I'm a racing announcer. Like I go and I am the PA guy. And so I collect stuff from that. Like all these are like racing signatures and stuff.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I'm into is VHS tapes.
Ooh, nice, man.
And so like right now, what I've been doing was going and collecting all the movies I loved as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But like specifically, I'll go hunt for like old rental tapes, like with the hard clamshell that like still has the rental company's logo on it. And like,
love it.
Those are my big, like I pop every time I see one. But
yeah,
I really am trying to get old wrestling tapes too. Like,
beautiful.
There's something about putting in a VHS tape that's instantly like nostalgia overload. And so there's that. DVDs, of course, like I like collecting physical media just because, as we're seeing with the WWE network, you never know when that stuff's going to get pulled away.
Yeah.
So like we're about to not have a bunch of the content on the WWE network.
Don't
so
even
like
started.
But I got VHS and DVDs. So
that media is becoming a little bit more and more popular. But apart from the wrestling books that I collect, I also have a collection of like CDs. Like my parents, I remember, had huge books of CDs, and like that's how I kind of discovered my music. So I thought, like, while I'm enjoying my music, I would love to have like hard copies of the music that I like, so that way my kids can discover my music, you know, stuff like that. And that brought me into vinyl. So now I have vinyls and CDs of like all of my favorite music. So yeah, you with the tapes, I feel that, brother. Man, like, man, and talking about the WWE network going to Peacock, like I feel like an old cranky man, just like like, why you got to touch something that's not broken, you know? Like, and then they say that they're not going to have all those pay-per-views. So it's a smart move by you to get those wrestling tapes, man.
Yeah, you brought up vinyl records. I'm all over vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
My big thing is I like cassette tapes.
Oh, yeah,
I have a tape deck, and then I've got a Walkman that I actually carry in my work bag.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
like every once in a while I'll just pop in a cassette tape, and I'm just like, okay, now this is right. This is like how we're supposed to be experiencing music. Like, but you know, I'm huge on having like the physical copy of something.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's awesome. You're like Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, just going through work and just, you know, having a normal day with your tapes.
Hold that thought.
All
Landon,
right,
vamp for a second.
I know what he's gonna do. But it's totally right. There's just something about getting to like physically and tangibly hold something.
Oh yeah.
And like it just makes it different. Like there was something. So I was one of those people when the network came out. I got it and I sold off. I kept all my documentary DVDs, but I sold off all my WrestleManias, all my SummerSlams, and stuff like that. But now it's like, man, you know, on those DVDs, you get, oh boy, there it is.
Man. Oh,
there it is.
For folks that can't see at home, he has the Star-Lord mask. He's looking like $1 million.
Couldn't hear reactions, but
John, you can't do this to me. You can't go to Star-Lord into a mullet, man. It just you're making me HARD, bud.
Dude, you gotta love. I know. So you're someone who appreciates good hair.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Curls for the girls in the back, man. Jeez, Louise. Way to impress. That is
I hunted that thing for months when it came out. That's that like Marvel Legends cosplay gear that they're doing now.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. It plays, it's got a Bluetooth speaker in it. Like,
Oh, no way. That is badass. Pop in the mixtapes that they have.
oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
those Guardians of the Galaxy soundtracks. Ooh,
They're some of the greatest music
man.
ever.
Oh my
But, yeah.
God. Yeah. If you haven't had an opportunity, folks at home, definitely go out and check those mixtapes out for the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're amazing.
So like you're a big wrestling fan. You like Star Wars a little bit. What's your other like fandoms that you've got? Because like
Yeah.
usually wrestling fans are pretty much into different fandoms as well.
So yeah, like you said, I'm into Star Wars a little bit. I remember going to the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, and they had like all the stormtroopers and all the characters out, and I got to meet those guys. So my dad points to my dad for bringing me out there. It was a really cool day. I have a lot of cool pictures from it. Other things that I'm into, obviously, like I was talking about it earlier, I'm into music. So like, all types of different music from hip hop to Metallica, like,
Yeah.
Slipknot to like, Pavarti, so like that's a little bit of a passion of mine. I'm trying to think of some other things, and it really doesn't come to mind, but wrestling is like a big part of my life, and then music is like, is a close second. So I actually have some songs on Spotify too. Not a lot of people know about that.
Really?
Ooh. Oh yeah. I actually moved to North Jersey to focus on making some music, and I actually like was so in tune that I got like 2 songs that are out there that are circling the world. So yeah.
Dude,
You and Landon
plug
need
away.
to talk. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I had to figure it out all on my own, but I had a lot of good friends that were around me, and we're talking about some really like nitty gritty stuff. Like I had to share a house with like 5 other dudes, and I was sharing a bedroom with a guy, and I had to make music, but we all figured it out, kind of like college style. Like I had a guy that was like a movie guy, like he was making film. He was a film student, and he had like a boom mic, and I was just like, hey man, you should bring that mic over, and we kind of set up like a ghetto little little recording studio, and that's like how I shot or like recorded one of my songs. So it was a good experience. Yeah, it was a good experience, man. Landon, you make music?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I always joke, like the way people joke about Broski being retired.
Yeah,
That's kind of like I don't know if I'm retired or not from performing music. I focus more so like on like film score and soundtracks and that kind of stuff. Like ambient music. That's kind of my bread and butter.
What's your favorite score before you continue? Like your favorite movie score? I'm sorry.
That's good. That's tough. Because there's a lot of really good ones off the top of my head. I'm gonna go with probably like the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, that kind of
iconic, man.
That kind of stuff. But then you have stuff like Star Wars that's super iconic, and then there's like the movie with Nick Cage, Mandy, that came out like 2 years ago. Really good, like kind of electronic music, up to like Disney soundtracks are good. There's just a lot of good music in the world.
Have you ever seen Taxi? I think it's either Taxi or Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro. That
yeah, dude. Yeah, like
that's my favorite. I have the vinyl for that. That is probably my favorite like song of any movie ever.
Dude, that's
so
how I am with the Goodfellas soundtrack. So much so I on my honeymoon this past week,
congrats,
my
by
wife.
the way.
Thanks, dude. I showed my wife Goodfellas for the first time. She'd never seen it.
No way.
And so like throughout the course of the movie, as the soundtrack's playing, like she starts catching on that.
What a great movie.
These are all songs that like you've played on dates, or like we like danced to, or stuff like that. Or I'd be like, hey, like listen to this song. It reminds me of you. And she's like, what? These are all from the same movie.
That's how my girlfriend. One of my favorite movies is A Bronx Tale.
Dude, yes.
And the soundtrack from The Bronx Tale is an amazing soundtrack, and I have it on CD actually. And my girlfriend, same thing. She never seen A Bronx Tale, and then I put it on. She's like, "This is all the music that you've been playing," and I was like, "Yep, I'm basic. Yeah, you thought I was interesting, but I watch movies."
Dude, there you go. Caught red-handed.
Yeah.
Well, Go ahead, Jake.
No, go ahead, Landon.
Well, I was gonna say, here in a second, we're gonna have you plug some music, because I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah.
well, let's get you some Spotify listens. Let's get that algorithm changed a little bit. But real quick, before we do head home, I just want to ask you a couple more wrestling questions. First and foremost, do you have a favorite wrestler?
Oh man, if you look into my room, there's a lot of Brian Myers stuff. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like if someone were going to my room, so I thought about it for a while, and I'm just like, if I had to think of a top like 5 wrestlers, Brian Myers would be up there with them. So I would say, man, like favorite wrestler of all time, Undertaker. Close second, and like a lot of people would be like, wow, I would say Brian Myers, man. Like he has like he's such a cool guy, and I think it's because like me discovering him recently and like him like toy collecting and just being himself. Like the dude just so it seems like he's so comfortable like with his own work and what he does in his life. So it's just like it's so cool to see. So like it's hard not to gravitate towards that dude. So I'd say that.
Yeah, totally. If you have the High Spots network, or if you do like their free trial, um, there's a lot of good Brian Myers shoot interviews and stuff on there, and it's just like I like hate or love how pro wrestling has changed with like the curtain completely pulled away and like we've access to everyone's real life.
Of course.
For some people, like a Brian Myers, or for me, Colt Cabana, getting to actually know that person and the way it blends in with their character, it's like, man, like that's just genuinely a good human.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to support them, and it makes you more invested. Like one of the sweetest moments of my life was when Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
Because I was watching WrestleMania with my best friend, and at the time, like his favorite wrestler was Zack Ryder. And to see his reaction to Zack Ryder winning, I was like, okay, like that, like that's why we started the podcast. Like for moments like that, like I always go back and forth to like, okay, like Edge, Randy Orton, are they my favorite wrestler, or is it really like Chris Hero, or is it Colt Cabana, or like is it the weird dude I saw on Shotgun Saturday Night that made me laugh because of how great he sold, getting choke slammed in 2 seconds?
Yeah.
So let me follow up that question with another question. So we know some of your favorite wrestlers. Do you have a favorite wrestling match? Like if somebody's like, hey, shit, like what's your favorite wrestling match? Show, like pull it up on the network, pull it up on YouTube. Like what are you going to go to show them if it's like, oh, like I've got you to sit down for one whole match. This is what I want to show you.
I would go back to the match that really got me like into wrestling, like back into it. So like I said, I stopped in 2010, came back around 2014, and then I continued like lightly watching on. But then there was this one moment, this one night that got me very, very invested. NXT TakeOver Dallas, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Brother, there is talk about chills. Like I get chill. I'm getting chills talking about it right now. So Sami Zayn comes out, and then you hear the da na 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 na, and you see the lights going off, and it's like such a new thing. And then this guy comes out. I've never seen anything with New Japan or anything. NXT got me into New Japan, which like it's like a whole different conversation in itself. But that match alone, like the electricity that Shinsuke had coming out in his debut, it was so well done. And then like the way that the crowd, like NXT has like the ring like lit up, and then the crowd is dark. It's not like Raw or SmackDown, which makes every show 100 times better. I wish more companies did that, but like they love showing the crowds for some reason. But NXT didn't do that at this time. So Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, NXT TakeOver Dallas. That's the match that I would tell people to go watch. That is my favorite match, and that's the match that just gets me going.
The crowd is so hot for that match too. Like it's electric. Like you can feel the electricity through the TV screen watching that match.
And it's like that makes me so happy you brought up that match, because it's one of those things we've had discussions even on so this is episode 1 of season 2, our last episode of season 1. we kind of touch on the fact that NXT has changed to where it was super focused on being developmental, prepping them for main TV, to where it kind of became its cult following due to stuff like this, and now it's just gotten off the rails to where it's like, I kind of call it like it's really good GIF wrestling.
Yeah.
There's not so much story depth.
Yeah.
Like if you miss a week of NXT, you're probably going to be fine. Like going into the next pay-per-view. But back then, having a crowd that was that hot because it was their first time doing like a pay-per-view like this right before WrestleMania, you have the excitement of WrestleMania weekend. Yeah. And then you have like Shinsuke's debut. You have like the story of Sami Zayn as just like the pitiful underdog, but he's kind of like the gatekeeper of NXT. Like, to know you came to NXT is you beat Sami Zayn pretty good. Yeah. And it's one of those moments in recent history where you just get good natural storytelling that is paid off through a really good match, instead of like, oh, like they just had a really good 40-minute match. Yeah. But I don't know why they were wrestling. So dude, that makes me so happy that you said that.
Yeah, man. The story goes on past their own rivalry in NXT, man. You think about Shinsuke Nakamura in New Japan and like how he rose from being like an unknown bad record kickboxer into like, wrestling stardom, and then you have Sami Zayn, who's El Generico. Sorry, Kayfabe. and then
wait,
and then
that's the same guy.
Sorry, Jake. and then he goes into Sami Zayn and he like does the Ring of Honor and does like almost everything in the indies, and then they finally come together in NXT, and it's, oh my god, if you guys, before they delete everything off of the WWE network, go watch that match for sure.
Yeah, I'll say this, if you're gonna watch anything NXT related ever, watch that match. There's other great stuff from NXT in the past, but it's like, that's especially if it's, I would kind of put that as, if you're going to watch, one Shawn Michaels match, watch this. If you're going to watch one Bret Hart match, watch this. If you're going to watch one NXT match, watch that TakeOver Dallas, for Shinsuke versus Sammy. Well, Aaron, we don't want to keep you super duper long.
I could do this all night
as we're hitting the hour mark. But is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, man, I have a couple of things. Definitely go follow the Brothers in Kayfabe if you don't already. But if you want to follow me on my journey, again, I told you guys at the beginning, I'm the hottest free agent in podcasting history. You never know I'm going to show up. But if you want to follow me, you could follow me on the Thursday Night Flea Market on Instagram. You could follow me on Aaron Ortiz on Instagram as well. That's Aaron Ortiz, but instead of the O's, just put zeros. And you could follow me on Flea Market Pod on Twitter. Pretty soon in the Patreon Facebook group that we are all in, I'm going to be selling these flea market wristbands. Purple and gold. They're going to be put together with some Aaron Ortiz autograph trading cards. People are asking for this stuff, and we're giving it to them, folks. So be on the lookout for that. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure to be here. It feels like we weren't even shooting a podcast. We were just shooting the shiz, as they say. So this is like, I don't say this about a lot of the podcasts, but this has been one of my favorites to do. I've been doing a lot of them recently.
Well, thank you, man. We really appreciate you saying that. And we appreciate you being on, and you are the hottest free agent in podcasting history. So like, we got to have you on the show. We can't be the wrestling show that doesn't have you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to hit all of them, man. It's like I'm making towns like the indies. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. You're out making the towns. Landon, do you have anything else to add, man?
I don't. I just want to say once again, it was super great getting to know you a little bit better and get you to have you on. We got to have you on again. Maybe get you in on some tape trading with Jake, or maybe I don't know how this is going to work out. I kind of want to do like pro wrestling history lessons. And so maybe it's like, hey, let me tell you about the time Shinsuke Nakamura showed up in NXT.
Man,
after some shenanigans in the world of pro wrestling. But dude, seriously, thank you for being on. check Aaron out on Instagram. If you don't remember his tags, rewind just a little bit and you can hear him again. Aaron's such a good dude. If you guys have a podcast, if you want to start a podcast, like it's going back to music, it's super easy to create anything creative you want nowadays with the technology to do it anywhere in any way. So reach out to Aaron because he is what he says he is, and that is the hottest free agent in podcasting history as well as just universal history. So Aaron, we here at the Brothers in Kayfabe Studios, we like to end our shows on a very specific way. So if you can follow my tattoo for a little bit and get a little too sweet going on, and I'll count us down and we'll all too sweet at the same time. You got to say it too. You got to get that high pitch Hollywood voice. Cause here's the thing. Everyone, you're allowed to too sweet however you want, but when you too sweet, you like, yeah, Bullet Club did it. It was cool. Like it's still awesome when Gallows and Anderson do it, but man, going back to Hollywood Hogan and Eric Bischoff saying, I love this man. From Aaron Ortiz, from Jake, from Landon, from the Brothers in Kayfabe. We'll see you next time on episode 2. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, 2, sweet for life. Dude, Aaron, thank you so much for being on, dude.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Thank you.
Well, cool. I'll edit that in post and